You are listening to This is Oklahoma, hosted by Mike Hearn, telling stories of Oklahomans and those that have made it their home.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma Podcast. Mike Hearn here, your host, back with another episode. Excited to share this episode with you today, but before we do, I've got to thank our sponsors. First of all, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. They've been a huge part of this podcast for the last few years. So the Oklahoma Hall of Fame have been sharing Oklahoma's story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com. And for daily updates, go to oklahomahof on Instagram and give them a follow. Our other sponsor today is Chickasaw Nation. Now, the Chickasaw Nation have sponsored pretty much everything in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and it's an honor to have their name and their brand supporting this podcast. A huge shout out to Governor Anatobi for supporting this podcast. It really means a lot. Our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is presented by Citizens Bank of Edmond. Citizens Bank of Edmond has been serving Edmond since 1901. They pride themselves on investing in the community and are here for all your personal and business banking needs. For more information, go to mycitizens.bank and follow them on Instagram at citizensedmond, as well as go bank there, because I bank there too. It's been a fantastic personal experience for me. I've had my podcast account there now, my podcast business account there now for 4 years now, I think, and it's been fantastic. So definitely worth your time. They're a great group of people, and they're always there to answer the phone when I forget my password, because I seem to forget it daily. So yeah, go to Citizens Edmond and check them out. It's been awesome. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of This is Oklahoma. Mike Hearn here, host, back with another episode down in Oklahoma City today with, well, a very fashionable human being. People listening are going to learn something about fashion today. The guys listening are going to learn how to dress properly, and the women are going to learn how to dress their man properly. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today on the podcast Mr. Steven Giles. Steven, thank you so much for inviting me to your, I guess, new-ish shop, right?
No, thank you for inviting me.
Excited to dive into the story. As someone who likes to scroll and walk around and try not to spend too much money on coats. I have a thing for coats. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I grew up in the UK and all we wore was coats and jackets and all the rest of it. But that piece right behind you, like, draw my eyes straight away. But we're going to dive into love of clothing, kind of how you get into it, and just kind of your backstory, because people obviously know the name. You've been around quite a while. 2005, is it? Started originally, but
the store started in 2005. I've been in the industry a little bit
longer than that, which we'll dive into. But yeah, I guess we'll start with just, I mean, we're in January, start of a new year. Tell me about the last kind of, this new phase, this new location. How's that been, and what's it been like to
Real quick, before I answer that,
yeah.
I want to thank you for your efforts in championing all those people in Oklahoma, small businesses, local businesses, so forth. That's awfully cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. So anyway, tell me again your question.
Yeah, tell me about this new location. And
Dumb luck.
Why did you decide to move?
Unbelievably nice. I couldn't be any more pleased. We decided to move because we were forced to move, and I won't get into the weeds on that, but nevertheless, here we are after 2 temporary locations downtown. We got here in May of 22. We finally got in this location in which you and I are speaking right now, December 22nd. Believe it or not, I don't know that I would wish that for any retailer, but here we are, and we made it.
Yeah, and you love it?
We've made it so far, and I absolutely love it. My best friends next door at Jimmy B's bring a whole lot of eyes to this store.
It's a great restaurant.
Yeah.
Right? Michael's doing a
fun
good job
stuff.
over there, and the food is fantastic. And if you get done with a busy day, you can just hop on over for a cocktail and a
That's
bit of food.
absolutely correct.
Which is good and bad, right? Depending on how the day's gone. So, born and raised in Oklahoma. Tell me about growing up.
So truly born and raised in Oklahoma. My family tells me that I was actually born above the theater in Edmond, Oklahoma. There was actually a hospital there. Now, why Edmond, Oklahoma, I don't know, because I grew up in Oklahoma City. But nevertheless, I was a Ridgeview Ram. I was a Hoover Junior High Eagle. Could not wait to go to John Marshall, but unfortunately we moved away. When we came back, we came back. I was going to go to John Marshall, that iconic high school in Oklahoma, and yet we moved to Edmond. Loved Edmond, don't get me wrong. I didn't say that disrespectfully. After Edmond, I went to Oklahoma State, thinking foolishly that I was going to play baseball. I did not. After kind of unceremoniously making my way at OSU, I was asked to leave, went to Central State, studied business at Central State, and then come to find out, I kind of lost all my family support because I was having way too much fun. So I had to have a job.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Okay. And that first job was in retail, and
That first job was not in retail. That first job was unloading boxcars in the summertime. Mike, have you ever unloaded boxcars in the summertime?
never been anywhere near a boxcar.
I wouldn't suggest that. Wasn't a lot of fun, and then I accepted the next top job, which was hot tarring roofs. Is that on your resume?
Was it better than
No, it wasn't. I learned real fast that there had to be something better out there, and then that is when I made my way into retail.
Okay. So going back a little bit, because I don't want to brush over this, this amazing childhood that you had and hopping around universities before you figured out what you wanted to do. Did you kind of...
Does not everybody do that?
No.
Okay.
You said you're into baseball, so you're fairly athletic. Thought that you were going to go play college baseball.
No, I was extremely athletic.
Extremely athletic. Let me edit that and make sure that's it there. Extremely athletic. Where did you ever have like an eye for dressing or clothing, or was it just like...
I was... substantially grew up in the 60s. The 60s was kind of that ending time of Ivy League. It was a time of change, obviously. 1967 on, we went into the worst decade in history of dress, which was the 70s. But nevertheless, I think my opinions were formed all the way back to Ivy League. Bermuda shorts, Madras, penny loafers, no socks, that sort of thing.
Who was your idol growing up then at that time?
Yeah.
Like fashion idol?
You're not going to believe this.
Yeah.
John F. Kennedy.
Okay. What about JFK just drew you to the way?
Other than the fact that he was a star, he was American royalty.
Yeah.
I just thought he dressed in such an appealing, understated sort of way. That guy's got it. He's cool. I mean, he was James Dean cool, but a president.
So you were crushed then when everything went down? And
It was bad news. I can remember my mother picking me up at school, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Taking me home to watch all the news.
It's crazy, right?
Yep,
wow.
it's
Okay.
crazy.
So tell me about baseball at OSU. How was that?
That didn't last long.
No? You had a lot of fun?
That didn't last long. I never even made it out onto the field. So do we really have to talk about that?
No, we do not. I can cut that out as well if you want. So brilliant. Love it. So you thought, I'm in baseball, I'm going to go do something. You said you lost the support for family, so kind of had to get a job. Would you just have no direction at that point, or you
I had
just
zero direction.
Okay. I guess
I was way too cool for school. I mean, I thought I could do anything and accomplish anything, and I didn't have to play by the rules and those sorts of things.
Well, did you just think were you riding a motorcycle, like, cigarettes behind your ears, just riding around and having a great time?
That's an apt description.
Okay. Not to get into too much trouble.
Way too many bars.
Yeah. So you go from the boxcars, you go to tar and roofs, and you get your first job in retail, and you think, I'm inside.
3 different retailers.
Okay.
Napoleon Nash, I'm sure you've never heard about it. That was a store that originated out of Clinton, Oklahoma. He was a second-generation clothier, and he really created a substantial business with several local locations, meaning zero disrespect. Here's what I learned from Napoleon Nash. The fashion that I didn't like and the compensation model that I didn't like. So I really took something important from this business. Not to know that I was going to use it later on in life, but.
Yeah. So what are the other two?
The other two was Dave Zorba's. Menswear was a small little shop back when every 20 feet you had some sort of clothing store, and it was in a very nice little shopping square, Penn Square, which was a beautiful outdoor mall at the time. Dave really didn't have a succession plan, and he was trying to find somebody that would take over that business. So Dave was a smart man, very smart merchant, and taught me a lot, all the administrative detail, operating detail, merchandising, retail math, all that stuff.
Yeah, and the third one?
The third store was rather iconic in a long period of time in my life, 25 years. Harold's. I don't know if you've been around long enough to understand who Harold's is. Harold really created a men's and ladies specialty store empire. It started in 1948 in Norman, Oklahoma. His second store was downtown Oklahoma City, by the way, the store in which I was employed for a short period of time, or originally hired to work in. He then grew to 50-plus stores, approximately $150 million in annual sales, and was truly not only iconic in this state, but iconic in the industry. They became very corporate. I loved Harold's. I thought I would be there my entire life.
Yeah.
Really inspirational and a mentor to me. I thought I would be there forever. Didn't do well with that corporate sort of environment and left.
Yeah. When you made the jump to go work for Harold's, was that kind of the time you knew you wanted to be in the business, or was it before it when you were at the other two?
One thing we haven't talked about, my educational background, prompted by my parents, was they wanted me to be a doctor. On one side of my family, we have several doctors. And so I did honor that, and I was in pre-med, but I was taking a lot of design courses. That, coupled with the fact, if you go back to my talk about Ivy League in the 60s, I have somewhat of a creative side. So I knew early on I wanted to do something there. I thought it might be landscape architecture, but it ended up in men's clothing retail.
Yeah.
Harold's was truly a lifestyle. It was a feeling. It was you walked into their stores and you were immediately esteemed. The level of your lifestyle was raised to that kind of American aristocracy, because he too was smitten by Ivy League, and he was the first store west of the Mississippi to bring an Ivy League style to this part of the country.
Yeah. So at a young age then you figured out that this is what I want to do. Do you remember?
I was pretty young. I was, what was I, 24, 22? Yeah.
Do you remember that? I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And I
don't know that I was conscious of that. I did well. Sure. I think the biggest thing is I really, really enjoyed making friends. I enjoyed presenting a product. I enjoyed presenting a specific ideal and a lifestyle, and that whole sort of boring thing to talk about. But
yeah, well, it's like, you've got people coming in the store, right? You've got to sell them, but you've also got to build a relationship with them and build regulars and learn how to dress them. And there's seasons, there's times, and you build one customer, you're dressing them for the year and years to come. So
I think you've hit upon something that is extremely important. Mm-hmm. Certainly important about this business. It's not a commodity business.
Yeah.
It's a customer service business. It's making friends.
Yeah. So Harold, you spent a lot of time there, and obviously, other than the corporate side of things, you were really enjoying yourself. And I guess if the corporate stuff didn't come around or didn't, because there's all P&Ls and this, you got to do this, and if it takes it away from becoming a relationship business, when was that moment then that you thought, you know what, I'm gonna do my own thing, and the time is now? Or did you have that kind of as an inkling early on?
I think they got tired of this incorrigible character fighting the corporate way.
Yeah.
They probably asked me to leave, if truth be known.
And you're like, this is all I know, I may as well do my own. Yeah. Where was...
I actually, this is a true story. To answer your question, I was there for 25 years. I would say the last 8 years was spent writing a business plan. Now that sounds bad,
Not
right?
really.
Because I'm working somewhere and
Yeah.
I'm doing something else. But I will tell you, I was forthright enough to talk with Harold. I took Harold to lunch and I told him what I was going to do. And I said, I want you to come with me. I know that's a little bold, but so in other words, I want you to back me.
Yeah.
And he was really very kind. He said, I'm extremely flattered, Steve, and I've really enjoyed our time together. He said, but I must tell you, you are absolutely going to fail.
I wish you the best, but you'll be back here in 6 months.
Yeah.
25 years is a long time to spend anywhere. Mm-hmm. You must have some great stories from those days of, and you said, like, if you shop there, you are something and somebody. You must have bumped into some great characters and have some great stories from those days. So if you don't mind sharing, I would love to hear. And I don't, this is, as Oklahomans, I figured out we don't like to name drop much, but I'm going to give you full permission to name drop anybody that you want to. And most of them I probably won't know, but maybe our listeners will.
Well, let me keep it kind of light, if I may. I originally started in downtown Oklahoma City. And at that time, downtown was absolutely a festival, and it was really a joy to go to work every day. They soon moved me to a location called 50 Penn. I don't know if you're familiar with the building or not. And down the hall from Harold's at 50 Penn was another store, as a matter of fact. You've done a podcast with her, and I thought it was extraordinary, and that's Ballyat's. And Ballyat's would, for whatever the reason, attract all the celebrities that came into Oklahoma City. So I had a chance to meet, as an example, Rock Hudson, who shopped at Harold's, who thought that was the coolest thing in the world, because back then, those guys dressed in this way. They don't do that today. So that's one right off the top of my head. I'll probably not mention some of the local titans that I met over the years, but I did have the good fortune to sit out on the couch and have a beer with one of our governors, and I can go on and on with those stories. But
I'm sure you can. Do you still dress those clients now? Do they follow you to your own thing?
Again, that fortune follows me. We've got a lot of people that come in that are very, very accomplished in their life, and
it says a lot about the business that you build and the friendships that you've made, right?
Just lucky. Just like my location.
Yeah. Hey, it happens. You got one is one of my favorite golf quotes from Gary Player. It's not. Just you hear. The more you practice, the luckier you get. You've just got the more bats, the more hits at bat, the luckier you get, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, no
people
kidding.
call it luck, but you've been in the business for over 25 years. So.
You get up, you go to work every day, nose to the grindstone, and good things happen.
Yeah. So Harold's then, obviously a great education, kind of, learned a lot from those years, learned good and bad, what to do, what not to do. Where did you open up your first location for yourself?
The first location was, I may get this wrong, it's at Grand and May.
Okay.
I believe it's called Country Club Village Plaza. Quaint location, charming location, wonderful location, neighborhood location. I would probably still be there today, but God rest his soul, Aubrey McClendon, Chesapeake, twisted my arm to move to Class and Curve, which was a great vision, not only for his company, but Northwest Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
So Class and Curve then was my second location.
Okay. Like you said, you've been building this business plan for 8 years, and you finally, either forced or just, hey, it's time for you to leave the corporation company. You're going to go out on your own. Tell me about it. What's going through your head? What's state of your life at the time?
That was a lot of value selling to people that I know. As Harold will tell you, by the way, Harold Powell, he was very fortunate to have a friendly landlord. That is to say, his family owned his original location.
Yeah.
Wow, that helps on rent. I had a very friendly banker. And I had very, very supportive equity partners.
Okay.
And that made things a whole lot easier. To go in business at a time in which, I'm guessing, fast forward to today, retail is not real attractive for banks to fund.
Okay.
So I was very fortunate at the time. We put that store in. We put in a very, very tasteful store.
Yeah.
Again, I was fortunate. People knew me, and we hit the ground running.
Has your clothing store evolved in over the years as far as following the trends, or have you kind of stuck to a core business model of we do this style very well? This is what you see us for?
Our approach to merchandising, if that is what you're asking me, is one of timeless value.
Right.
Now you hear that phrase a lot. Truly, we have a collection of pieces in this store, a collection of fashion, but it's really more of a psychology of dress than anything else.
Okay.
Every one of these pieces in this store today, there's not one that you could find that hasn't been here at least since the 30s. Now, wow, perfect timing, because I think vintage is the trend today. But the point I'm trying to make is it's got some staying power. There's an appreciation to the aesthetic value of this, where today it's more about the way you wear something than what you wear.
Okay. Dive into that for me. Tell me about, just obviously you have a passion, some might call it an obsession, about clothing and being a clothier and the way that you dress people, and everybody's different. And you just mentioned the word psychology as well. Where does that come from? Where do you learn about it? I mean, obviously you've been in it for a long time, but there's books everywhere, as well. So, are you going home at night researching? Jumping on the internet, looking at styles, trends, fashions. Where does that love of it come from?
Yeah, I don't do as much of that today.
Sure.
I can name a couple. Well, first of all, I'm going to go back to my mentor, Harold Powell. Okay. I've listened to Harold lecture time and time and time again. So it is now ingrained the way you ought to dress.
Yeah.
There are two books. Alan Flusser's first edition and his second edition are comprehensive and extraordinarily well written. Today, fast forward to today, the only thing out there today that I think is worthy, as a matter of fact, Alan Flusser even endorsed it, and that is ivy-league.com.
Okay.
Writes a certain number of blogs that are really, really interesting. So I keep talking about this Ivy League notion, and Ivy League really sounds old. It's not old. It's really kind of a social phenomenon that for centuries, decades, has not changed. And that is simply this: 90% of the population is intrigued and typically embraces what 10% has. Okay, so whether it be British royalty, going all the way back to the 20s, which really, you could argue, introduced this. Some people argue it was actually 1895 Brooks Brothers, but I would prefer to think it was the Prince of Wales that did this. There was a reluctant acceptance to a few pieces. And those pieces were worn in creative fashion by the individuals. They happened to be students in the Ivy League school.
Okay.
And so who were those students? Those students were American royalty. They were the next titans of industry. And at that time, America took notice. Now, they could have been Hollywood, could have been politicians, whomever they were. That was our cue of how to dress. And that lasted all the way up until the 60s. had remember another renaissance in the 80s with preppy, kind of a wussy sort of way of talking about it, but nevertheless, that's what it was. So anyway, that's this clothing. That has not changed. I would insist to you that will never change. It is never dressing up, but always dressing well. It is simply changing what others might consider as an older style with a current relative way of wearing it. I don't know that I answered your question.
No, I mean,
I get off on tangents. So
my next question was going to be, what is Ivy?
Just throw me a book. Yeah. Throw a book at me and I'll stop.
No, you're good. So 2005, you start on your own. Everything's going well. Like you said, you have great backers, and it takes the stress off everything. Do you think, in the business plan, was this, I'm going to just have one store, I'm going to have multiple stores like Harold's? Like, how big did you kind of dream?
Never dreamed to be the next Neiman's. Never dreamed to be Harold's too. I wanted to earn a living. Yeah. But I just simply wanted a comfortable store that was very fraternal, that was really more about making friends than anything else. And that's genuine. That's very true.
Did any of the athletic stuff ever come back around, like the baseball stuff? Clothing-wise?
You can ask my daughters. Yeah. I still feel like that Andre Agassi and I are kindred spirits. I can play golf with the best of them. Yeah. I've got an athletic ego, which is terribly misguided. But
well, I mean, to be very good at athletics, you have to have a bulletproof mind. So, good and bad at athletics, I guess. Let's talk about golf for a little bit, since you know golf, and golf fashion has kind of like gone through it up and down. I don't think it's good right now. I don't think it's been good for a long time. Well, because the golf thing's kind of preppy too, right? The golf's, generally, if you meet someone who's a golfer and you see them after they played golf, generally they look, khaki.
The real irony in golf attire is, how did we get here?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it was the ultimate country club sport, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever have a lot of golfers? I assume there's a lot of golfers that come in that are just kind of like, you dress them for the golf course and after.
If I were able to do it, I would take somebody off the tour and dress them like, I've lost his name, in Tin Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Just did the Yellowstone series.
Yeah.
And I'm very serious about that. There is nothing more elegant and graceful than his attire. Kevin Costner, thank you. His attire in Tin
Cup. God, what a great movie.
Look, I'm all for dressing down. I'm all for it. But there's still a correct way to dress down. There is still an elegant way in which we can dress down.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be so slovenly. It doesn't have to be as if we've just come out of the gym or finished cleaning the garage. When did that happen?
Yeah. That's because of Lululemon, I think, right? And some other
which
companies.
Is a phenomenon. Seriously, that's another podcast. That's a phenomenon. But
how do you go about educating people then to dress down but still dress well, and the style that you guys have in this establishment? I
think one of our I want to believe one of our competitive advantages is the presentation of the store, and then extended through our website. It is a very visual presentation that I think is comfortable, approachable, very appealing. That's the start. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, it is it's just educating, edifying one as to what they need, what they don't need, what they like, what they don't like. Yeah. This is who we are.
You mentioned your daughters earlier. Obviously, Becca's in the business. What's that like, having family in the business, helping you out?
Without my family, I wouldn't be where I am today. I say that with almost a tear in my eye. That's a true story. They may not suggest that. I'm probably not the nicest. I'm not the easiest person to work with, but they are absolute stars.
Yeah. Well, it's special, right? You get to work with, family most days or every day, and it's great when they have a skill that helps the business too. They're not just sponging money from you because they want a job.
They're all good, and there's needed support there, welcome support there. Yeah.
You mentioned it earlier.
They are the next generation too, I hope.
Yes, that would be great to have this continue on long after you and long after them, to keep going. You mentioned kind of British royalty. I'm a lover of James Bond. I think I grew up as Pierce Brosnan being my James Bond, and now Daniel Craig. Bond is always someone I've kind of looked up to as like just the way that they dress, and the way that they dress the Bonds have done very well. You mentioned British royalty earlier as well. Do you have any, not say like moments, but there's so many icons in kind of this style, right? And especially in Britain and the UK, and you look at the Jude Law, or even now Tom Hardy and all the other actors that are coming up. What were the British icons back in the day when you were thinking about it and dressing and looking at and pulling inspiration from? Was there any?
Well, I'm going to go. I know I don't know whether he's held in high regard, but I'm going to go back to the Prince of Wales, who truly started all this. He took a very proper approach to dressed it down, just like you and I were talking about it, softened it, gave it a sporting sort of appeal. That's the start for me, and everything that he did. It evolved from there, to be sure. I liked Bond. I liked the original Bond. I don't know that I liked Sean Connery. I thought he was a man's man. That sort of look was very proper British sort of tailoring. That's not what the Duke of Windsor was doing. He was doing things a little softer and tweedier and so forth and so on. So somewhere in between the two is where I am. Yeah,
I do love a bit of tweed every now and then. I don't get to wear it as often out here as I'd like. I mean, it's cold at the moment, so maybe I'll have to wear some soon. But it's and I haven't worn a flat cap in a long time.
That's funny. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, well, a die cap is what we call it back in Wales, but flat cap is the easier way for people to understand what. If I said die cap, everyone would be like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
Where I got to do a bit of geography. Do I have time?
Yeah, of course.
Where is Wales to Ireland?
Right across the water. Okay. Literally straight across.
So we carry a product called Enish. I'm probably mispronouncing this. Enish Mons, which is on an island.
Yeah.
Somewhere in between the two. Prettiest stuff I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
God, they're all knitwear, sweaters. They were made. The business was for Irish fishermen.
Okay. Yeah, it's some of the. I mean, and there's so many different colors woven into it, and it's just.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I love scrolling like the Harris Tweed website just to kind of see what patterns, and I have a phone case. Back in the day before, like you had to click on a phone case. Now it was just like a sleeve that's a Harris Tweed one, and then it's in my office somewhere. I never use it. Back to the business then. You've been super successful in business and going out on your own, and learned a lot from obviously working for Harrods for 25 plus years. But what sets you apart in your business, whether it's in the store or just your personal style? Like what sets you apart then compared to your competition?
Well, I think two things. One is probably a bit tried to hear it from everybody, and that is customer service. But I truly believe, and I'm absolutely confident, that our customer service is unassailable. Because it truly is about making friends and understanding why they're in this store. It's a fraternal atmosphere. Not only do they know me, I know them, but they know everybody else that's in the store.
Yeah.
Secondly, and more importantly, is really kind of the entertainment side of the business, and that's the presentation of the clothing.
Okay.
And so what is the clothing? We've talked a little bit about the origins of the clothing. We know what that is. We know it's a collection of pieces that are timeless, but there are also pieces in which are curated really with a tasteful, driven ethos. Is taste subjective? Perhaps. but I would venture to say there's nothing in this room that you would consider not tasteful. We choose vendors that are like-minded with us. They're generally smaller family businesses. And we choose product for this market that you otherwise have to go out of town to find this product. I will not have anything in the store that's not exclusive. And look, I'm proud. We've made our way in the world. We can develop product too. We literally design the product. That is to say, not actually the architecture of it, but the fabrics, the colorations, the fit, things of that nature, and we proudly put our label on it. As a matter of fact, I'd rather sell you a product with the Steven Giles label on it than I would some of our partners, which are marvelous, marvelous additions to the store.
Yeah.
So I want to believe those things, high customer service, and product presentation and the entertainment thereof is our competitive advantage in the marketplace.
Yeah. When did you start putting your own name on things? When did that come in?
We were probably in business about 5 years. How I argued my way into doing that, I don't know. And let me tell you, it's getting harder and harder and harder to do every day. This notion that production, on the production side of the business, the wholesale side of the business, has to be this, what's the term, omni-marketing, but there's a term in there somewhere. You understand what I'm trying to say. They want their brand on it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to develop my own brand. I have developed my own brand, and I insist on doing that going forward. So
yeah,
we will endeavor to continue.
Brilliant. You've been in business since 2005, gone through a lot of ups and downs. 08, 09. That must have not been an easy time, right? Tell me about that.
We were on our way. We were ahead of plan. I'm not a numbers guy. I care less about numbers. I think numbers take you down. But nevertheless, our first 2 years were really extraordinary, more than I could ask for. And then 2007 hit, lasted till 2010, and literally took us down half of what our volume was. But we made it.
Yeah. How do you get through that as a fairly new store? How do you get through that as a business owner? Obviously you got.
Well, I'm gonna give you the simple answer. I mean, we were well funded. I mean, it just we mind our P's and Q's. I mean, we're pretty prudent on the expense side of the business if we want to start getting that dry. But we also had cash behind us. That is a comfort, and that helps you. Tremendously. And why does that help you? Because you've got a checkbook to buy, and you always want to put your best foot forward.
Yeah. When did you guys make the move to kind of have an online presence, or was that started from day one?
We really don't. Really don't. And I think that is difficult for a store like this. Yeah. Let me get back to you talking about Harris tweeds and me talking about Enishmont sweaters and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
Those are touchy-feeling sort of things. You lose that on a flat screen of online.
Yeah.
I do believe that online is a second generation marketing for us, but the technology isn't there for what I really want to do. That is to say, I want to take that computer screen and put you in that computer screen in the store. Now, that may be available today, but maybe cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
Ralph Lauren's probably the closest to doing that.
Yeah. Talking of 08, 09, tough times, and you just mentioned kind of you'd rather get people in. One thing you couldn't do was go through the last 2.5 years. Well, thankfully, we're on the other end of it now, but 2020 to 2022 with this horrendous virus that came through and stopped people from coming in the store. So how do you go through that, too, with wanting, you couldn't get people in the store to feel the product?
I don't know that I knew what our future was going to be. I mean, those were were desperate times for everybody. But my son worked with me at that time, and not selfishly, but selflessly, he left to take care of his children. If his wife would have left her job, she would have lost her job.
Gotcha.
I think he knew his comfort was he would always have a job here, but more importantly, he happened to have a friend that allowed him to work for him. So Brent left. I'm by myself. I came to work every single day, as many people did. I didn't do anything different from anybody else, even though we weren't open. You say. We weren't. I sat there with those doors shut, lights off, and wrote people every single minute of the day, just asking them if they were doing well, wishing them the best.
Yeah.
Were we rewarded after that? I want to believe we were, yes.
Oh, I'm sure.
We came back pretty fast.
Yeah, no one writes handwritten notes anymore, right? Like, where does that come from? Because that's not something
Harold's.
That's Harold's?
That's Harold's.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't, which, by the way, was one of my arguments. Once they got really corporate and started printing everything, I said, no, I want to handwrite thank yous. I mean, that's the proper thing to do.
Yeah. So you just pretty much all day, every day?
All day, every day for, what, February to June? I can't remember what it was. But.
Yeah. And do you still...
And many others did. Look,
well,
I'm
sure.
not...
I'm just... But, like, I'm interested in, like, you know, what makes you you, right? What makes you unique and what makes your business succeed. And by a lot of people could have just sat down, applied for a loan or whatever it is that the government was giving them assistance and just kind of taken the time off, got fat and just had a great time, right? But obviously, you know, you care a lot still. You know, I don't think that's ever going to change, but it's just, I love hearing that, right?
Yeah.
That
Well, your next meal comes from your efforts, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Let's talk a little bit about kind of just the clothing side a bit more. Give some consumer advice to people. I guess what would be your statement pieces for any man? Say if I came in here today and said, I need to build a wardrobe. What's the statement pieces?
The without question, without argument, the first piece that I'm going to put on your back is the navy blazer.
Okay.
The navy blazer is the accepted dress instead of wearing a dark suit and a windbreaker thrown on with a pair of jeans. It is the single most important item in your wardrobe. Okay? The next two things, because a man does need a suit. There are occasions that a man needs a suit. Arguably, navy blue is the dressiest suit you could own, as it is, by the way, the dressiest tux you can own. The theory being navy absorbs light, black reflects light. So anyway, that's a bit of technical hoorah, right? But anyway, and then charcoal gray. If you have those three pieces, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you were set, and today you're set.
Yeah. How about shoes?
You're talking to a guy that wears nothing but slippers. You could argue that in a dress sense that a brogue is necessary. I'm going to say no. Some sort of plain-toed shoe is necessary. I just happen to like a slipper. I mean, they're sleeker, they're more flattering. I like the aesthetic. Yeah. That's shoe world, and we're not big in the shoe business. Shoe business is difficult. I mean, your inventory costs are extraordinary.
Yeah. I went home to a wedding at Christmas, and the groomsmen were all in black velvet jackets, and I have a velvet tux, but the lapel is satin. But this was the first time it was just velvet everywhere, which I love because you can kind of dress it up or dress it down. What's your thoughts on velvet?
I like it. I love it. As a matter of fact, I always have. We've got a velvet shoe sitting over there. That is our formal shoe of choice. But sans socks and thrown on with a pair of jeans is the coolest look you can do. Same thing holds true with that velvet jacket. Now, that's hard to do. You're obviously not going to do that with silk or grosgrain appointments. But if the lapel is a self-lapel, not only does it give you a nice dinner jacket, but it gives you that cool piece to throw on with a pair of jeans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best pieces you can own.
Yeah. Yeah,
there's a lot of, quote, frivolous pieces like that are very, very neat.
Yeah, I was thrilled when he called and said, hey, we're wearing these. I'm like, yes, I'm going to keep that for a long time.
That's a great look.
You mentioned dressing down earlier. There's ways to dress down well. Tell me about that.
I think the way you tie your tie, it's difficult without showing, but the way you tie your tie, a four-in-hand tie rather than a very pert Windsor tie, the type of collar. I love Kennedy collars. Those are short little points. I obviously, as you can see what I'm wearing, like a spread collar. Every collar is a spread. I'm getting technical here. This happens to be a very wide spread.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I lost my...
Just dressing down. You seem to hate
Lululemon. It's really more about the detail and the nuances of the way you wear things. Now, are you that sort of individual that is so meticulous? The bottom of your necktie has to be a particular spot on your trouser, or you just tie the darn thing and tuck it into your pants? That's dressing down.
Yeah.
That's the best example that I have in a formal sense. Not wearing socks. Some people might think that's roguish. That's dressing down. Rather than wearing a formal Chesterfield top coat, you're going to wear a big, full, heavy polo top coat. Okay. Or you might even wear a 3/4 length Englishman sweater over your jacket. Those are dressing downs.
Yeah, not what that people listening do not. They're probably thinking of like sweatpants and hoodies and
no.
That's
what
dressing
poorly.
Some people may say comfort.
No, it is comfortable, to be sure.
In your own home, it is, right?
And let me make sure that I state this. However you want to dress is fine with me.
Yeah. The one good thing about clothing, especially worn well, is to that point, is that you don't have to spend an outrageous amount of money to look well, right? To look good, especially if you get it tailored and it fits you well. It's amazing how far a tailored item of clothing goes. Now, you've got to spend a bit of money, of course, but you don't, the amount of money that some people are spending on sweatpants at the moment, you could equally spend that money on dressing and looking a little better. Do you guys do in-house tailoring here, or do you kind of send people?
We're fortunate. We're actually pretty good on the custom side of the business.
Okay.
So we have. We're not Seville Row, but we do have about as close as you can get to bespoke tailoring.
Yeah.
And we do quite a bit of that.
Yeah. Obviously, Savile Row is very iconic in the fashion world, in London and all over. Tell me about any of your travels. Have you been fortunate enough to travel around, see and be and go and really kind of, like you mentioned earlier, getting in the stores and feeling the products? Have you had much chance to travel and experience and
I have a tremendous number of friends in the industry.
Okay.
Very fortunate. Every Friday evening of market in New York, set with 21 men who are literally icons in the industry.
Yeah.
That is about the extent of my travels in hearing their stories.
Okay.
I've never gone to Italy. I've been prompted to go to Italy at least once every other year. I have not. That's kind of the start of everything. Yeah. I choose to go to New York for the sophistication that New York offers, a little more worldly view of what's going on. But I have been to almost all the iconic stores out there, although one needs to go no further than the New York Brooks Brothers store, sadly closed today. Polo's Madison Avenue store, if you want to see presentation, there is nothing close in the world.
Yeah.
So I have seen those, yes.
So you mentioned those 21 men. Tell me about the best stories that you had from those meeting those guys and the stuff you've learned. And obviously, the kind of Italian style is different, and there's it. Also, what you just said too about presentation in the store. It's not just clothing; it's the way that you present it too. So I'm interested in, not the trade secrets, but just the amazing things you've learned from those guys in New York.
Give me a minute to think of names, because I'm getting old and I can't remember.
We got time.
Okay, we'll hit another question and we'll.
What do you think the modern man is missing from his the way that they care about clothing? Because it doesn't seem like back to kind of, people just seem to throw. No one's really making statements or taking care in the way that they dress.
Yeah, I don't know that there's today a real foundational awareness to what a man ought to wear. The unwritten rules are really not do not go down from one generation to another. But the biggest issue is the retail side. I mean, there's nobody out there that understands what's going on. Nobody can relate the story. can deliver the message in any resonating sort of way. It's just, I mean, we're in a tough time. We really are.
Yeah.
And also, too, you talked about how easily it is to get on Instagram and find this and find that. My gosh, there's so many mixed messages out there. You don't know what's true and what's not true. I don't know that there is a defined authority anymore. There used to be a defined authority just by you turning on the TV or opening the newspaper and seeing again those titans of industry and politicians and Hollywood icons and stuff.
Yeah.
It's not there today.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's on YouTube.
Hopefully it's here, but, well.
Yeah. You mentioned kind of like some statement pieces earlier. What are the don'ts to have as a man in their wardrobe, or things that you should never do, like mixing colors or whatever it is? Like, what are the just, Steven Giles might crucify you if you walk in the store looking like this.
I think the poorest thing that a man can do is wear ill-fitted clothing. That starts with the fit and moves to the tailoring. Only exceeded by clothing that's not laundered correctly. It's dirty, it's not pressed. I mean, everybody can do those two things, right? Pay attention to the actual fit that you need, pay attention that's tailoring that might be needed, and have your clothes cleaned and pressed.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I've easier said than done. I would buy the best that you can possibly afford. It's not about quantity; it's about quality of your purchase. I think America is slow. Europe has had that. I think America is slowly but surely learning that. As a matter of fact, I think there's going to be a renaissance of the way we dress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're here for it, right? Come on down.
Hopefully.
Teach you everything you need to know. We just had Christmas. Is Christmas a fun time for you to kind of dress people up for party season and then just kind of...
Christmas is a fun time. If you like a frenetic pace,
Yeah.
if you like working a room, if you like all your friends over, Christmas is a fun time.
Yeah.
Both in terms of what they might need for events, but also the gifts. It's really enjoyable to thoughtfully select something for somebody else.
Yeah. What are some of the best gifts that you've given and received then over the years?
Oh gosh, given and received. I received twice. I received trips, once to Boston. I did a little summer school, 2 successive summer schools outside of Boston. I had not been back to Boston. Kelly surprised me with that trip, and the other one was to D.C., which was fascinating. I don't know that I'd go there today, but
Yeah.
so receiving, giving, I don't know that I've ever. Hopefully, I've given some nice gifts.
Beck is here. Beck, do you have any great gifts that Dad has given you?
I'm lucky I have a dad that can pick clothes out and they actually look nice.
Yes. Do you, I guess this might be a fine line. Do you dress the kids and your wife too, or do you let them kind of just guide them? Or is that too far for a family?
I used to. Now, all of a sudden, they've acquired this know-it-all sort of way about them. I don't seem to do as well today as what I used to.
Yeah. No,
I used to dress them head to toe.
You're not going out of the door wearing that.
You can't control us anymore.
No, they were always really pretty good. But they've got their definite opinions about things. They've created their own personal style, and that's who we are. I'm here to guide you. Ultimately, the best dressed out there have their own personal style.
Yeah. And wear it with absolute confidence. Right?
Absolutely.
Just not worry about it.
That is style. They are synonymous with one another. Self-assured and confident.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about accessories. Watches, belts, glasses. I mean, it all kind of adds into your pocket square. It all adds into the fit and
it's kind of the defining moments of your look. There's no doubt about it. You might argue that when a man steps in the room, you're going to notice those subtle little details, whether it be the watch in which he chooses to wear, the watch band that accompanies that watch, the horn rim glasses, whatever it is that he has, the way he puts his pocket square in.
Yeah.
Socks or no socks,
Is there any do's and
I think
don'ts?
it's very important.
Yeah, and then you take a lot of pride in those details and kind of pass that on to your clients as well?
Try to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we do it all the time. I mean, I don't know that a day goes by where we offer a presentation that we're not showing all those things. It almost becomes natural in the presentation.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a little bit. You mentioned it earlier, the presentation of the Polo store and the Brooks Brothers store, sadly, that's closed. How do you learn that? Because when I walked in earlier, I was just like, looks fantastic. Everything seems to be in the right place, and I just want to throw money at you when you dress me.
Look, it's whether it's. I don't know that you have to have a creative bone in your body. I think you have to have a willingness to understand a particular taste level, and I think everybody has the capabilities of doing that. Whether it is you seeing a mannequin or whether it is this is the way I want to dress. That's kind of where it all starts. Yeah. But it's, as I told you, it always intrigued me. People that were so very well dressed, that intrigued me. All you've got to do is look at Ralph Lauren's store and see that lifestyle theater presentation, that attitude on all the mannequins. I mean, if you're not smart enough to copy that.
Yeah. Have you ever walked down the catwalk yourself over the years?
No.
No?
No.
Never want to do no.
No.
Have you dressed people to do that in men's fashion
shows?
Yes,
many times.
How much fun is that?
It is both fun and frustrating. Yes, I can assure you.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking an hour of your time.
I enjoyed it.
I will come back and shop, and I need to assess my finances first and come back because I want to be, I need to dress.
I think you've got a great James Dean look on.
I appreciate that.
Cool look. We need to throw a beat up denim jean jacket on, and you're in like
done. Need to get a motorcycle, and I'm ready to go. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. For people listening, I will put the Instagram, social media, all the website links down below. And come on by down, literally right next to Jimmy B's. Come on down. You can shop and then go over there and get some food. And thanks so much. And we will catch you next episode. Cheers.
Thank you.
Hope you guys enjoyed that great episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, huge shout out to our sponsors, the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, sharing Oklahoma story through its people since 1927. For more information on the Oklahoma Hall of Fame, go to www.oklahomahof.com and follow them on Instagram for daily updates at oklahomahof. Our other sponsor, the Chickasaw Nation, amazing sponsor. They do amazing things for the state, and they're always sponsoring something in Oklahoma. They're a huge supporter of Oklahoma, and without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And our third sponsor is Diffie Ford Lincoln down in El Reno. Now, this one makes me so happy because these guys are great friends of mine, play a lot of golf together. I've bought my cars from them, do most of my oil changes down there, have a cup of coffee, hang out down in El Reno. It's a good spot to go. And not only are they great friends, but they provide a great service. So for over 60 years, third generation family owned Oklahoma business down in El Reno. They're also in Bethany as well. So people in the Bethany area know the Diffies really well. But if you're looking for anything new, used, Ford, Lincoln, or whatever, I'm sure they could find anything you want. Check them out, diffieford.net, and then on Instagram at diffiefordlincoln. This episode is presented by Citizens Bank of Edmond. Citizens Bank of Edmond has been serving Edmond since 1901. They pride themselves on investing in the community and are here for all your personal and business banking needs. For more information, go to mycitizens.bank and follow them on Instagram at citizensedmond, as well as go bank there, because I bank there too. It's been a fantastic personal experience for me. I've had my podcast account there now, my podcast business account there now for 4 years now, I think, and it's been fantastic. So definitely worth your time. They're a great group of people, and they're always there to answer the phone when I forget my password, because I seem to forget it daily. Go to Citizens Edmond and check them out. It's been awesome.
Thank you for listening. We are inspired by those around us and hope that you are too. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review so we can keep telling your stories. For more great Oklahoma content, follow This Is Oklahoma on Facebook and Instagram.